Hey guys, welcome to the Identity Shift. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Identity Shift, and I am your girl Tia Upshaw, and who I have with me today is all the way from Ontario, Sophia Jackson. And Sophia Jackson is the CEO, founder, owner of Soulful Colour. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Sophia. How are you?
I am great. Grand Rising. Good Dawning. That's one of my new ones.
Well,
I'm
I
great.
love that you said Grand Rising because I just seen a debate on Facebook about saying good morning versus Grand Rising because morning means death and blah blah blah. I just seen that like last week,
Really. Yes.
literally.
Etymology of words. I'm like, even, it has different meanings, obviously, but when you say it, the resonance, the sound that comes out of your mouth is the same. So there are, yeah, and I know there's some debates. I've been asked, you're a Grand Rising person? And yeah, some people they're just not down with
Yeah, I mean, I don't
it.
doesn't bother me either way, but I just seen that debate and I was like, damn, that's a real debate on Facebook. Like, it's not even a big deal, you guys. Like, whatever you prefer to say, say. If you don't want to say it, don't say it.
Yes.
So that just caught my attention. Anyway, Sophia, let the listeners, viewers, however way they're looking at this today, know a little bit of who Sophia Jackson is.
Well, I am a creative, which I believe everybody is, but I tap into my creative quite a bit because of me being a singer, songwriter, the author, and founder and creator behind the Soulful Colour books and brand. I'm also a child and youth care worker,
Mm-hmm.
counselor, and I would say I'm a community advocate and a very entrenched in community and supporting a collaborator. Um, I also, have my license as a financial in the what do you call it, life insurance and investments and things
Oh,
like
wow,
that.
yeah.
I have my license there, and I utilize all of those skills and tie them together and throw them into what I'm doing with Soulful Color, the books, the brand, and then also as a speaker, workshop facilitator, and presenter in corporate spaces and schools and social services
Definitely
sector.
Definitely creative.
Yes.
Definitely, that's what a creative is. Entrepreneur, yes, but a creative, you're able to kind of move around different industries and different platforms, which is great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think when people say, how do you make, financial literacy creative? It's just, it's
Oh
your
yeah,
own unique style. Like, the nuances of who you are as an individual, that is creativity. And whether, you're a nuclear scientist or uh, uh, like even a bus driver, like whatever you bring to it, that's your creativity.
it's so
And
true.
then, yeah, and that's what makes you creative. So even if you don't think you're creative, you
You are.
absolutely you are. Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question for them to ask you though. Like, how the hell are you making financial literacy, which is now called FinLit,
Finlit.
creative? But you can make it very creative and very fun through your creativity as an individual. It doesn't have to be so bone dry, boring.
Right, exactly, exactly. And then I put financial literacy into one of the coloring books. That's like my way of tackling well, not tackling, making it creative.
Yeah, well, I mean, tackling, making it, you have to tackle it because traditionally, FinLit is boring. No
Right.
one wants to sit there and be, taught or educated, or facilitated to about FinLit because it is traditionally boring.
But it's so important. It's so entrenched and um, goes through every piece of our life. There's no way you can't leave your house without um, spending money or
Absolutely.
it touching the narratives of your life. So the fact that it's kind of an interesting juxtaposition for us as individuals, like which.
No, I get what you're saying, and I'm glad you mentioned that both soulful coloring, or soulful color. Sorry. So let's jump into that because people are probably like, "What's soulful color?" Can you share a little bit with all of us about your journey, the good, bad, and the ugly, about soulful color, and what inspired you to start creating that?
Well, the start was with the first book, which is right here, by the
Oh,
way.
that
I
in the
have it here.
background,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. So this is the first book, and I was going. I went back to school. I wanted to focus on becoming a child and youth care
Yeah.
counselor as a mature student, and I wanted to make sure that I was doing my best and getting honors. I wanted to get honors and stressing myself out, and decided to pick up coloring as a self-care practice. It was one of those things that were shared in one of our classes, talking about vicarious trauma. There are, in
Oh,
the social services sector, a lot of us who are in this work, we really give of ourselves quite a bit and put others first before
yeah.
yourself. So it was very important to kind of talk about, so what are you going to do for self-care when you're in the field? And of course, so vicarious trauma came up, like that meaning, for anybody who's not aware, that a lot of times you're an empath and you take on the stress and the
Oh
trauma
my God.
of other
Yeah.
people. Yeah. And so, what are you doing to help yourself process that? And so, coloring was one of the things that got yelled out in our class when we were sharing. And I remembered how soothing. I remember coloring being, very soothing and calming, and I liked it as a child. And I was like, maybe I should start doing it as an adult. And then, adult coloring is a thing, has been a thing, and I think will
Absolutely.
continue to be a thing. And that was the inspiration for me to start coloring. But then when I went to go look for coloring books that I wanted to color, coloring pages, I found it challenging finding things that was representative of my experience as a woman of color, um, Canadian born, black woman, Ontario,
We get, yeah.
Canada. Yeah, so our narrative is really different than the States and stuff like that. So when I couldn't find it, I was like, okay, instead of, you know, being upset about it, or, I just, okay, let me fill
Let
the
me do
gap.
it.
Let me create something. Yeah. And so that was the inspiration of getting started. And then, that first book was published 2017, and now here we are 2024,
24.
and I have four books in total in the Soulful Color series. And was something started off really as a project to help myself. I knew that there would be others who felt the same way as
Oh,
me.
absolutely.
Yeah, and the adult coloring books are, most of them are very intricate with their patterns, mandalas, and futuristic landscapes, and very detailed.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's calming, and for others, it's the opposite. It's right, too much, too stressful, um, too intricate. So that's why I created a kids coloring book that could resonate with adults, but also with young people as well. And because of my black background in child and youth care work, I was like, yeah, this
It
makes
only made
sense.
sense.
It
It
made
only made
sense. Yeah.
sense. Do you
And
have any of the children ones behind you?
I do.
Let's see the cover of that.
This one is the
It's
newest. It's
so
called
cute.
Zeke and Zara. So we have these two fun-loving characters, and who I hope to expand on in other books. And this one is the newest. It's called Empower Flow. And Empower Flow is actually a coloring book about menstrual awareness.
I
And
love it. I love it. I think I gave you an introduction, but I might have. No, I did. Missy Searle is the founder of Period Poverty Alliance here in Nova Scotia. It's a new non for profit. And I said to her, like, you need to get this new coloring book from Sophia. And I think I tagged her in one of your posts on LinkedIn.
mhm,
And she was like, I didn't even know she existed. And I said, this is the power of social media. This is the power of LinkedIn. So, Missy, if you're listening to this, girl, get on top of it. Reach out to Sophie and order them goddamn books. Get the coloring books because it is a thing with regards to menstrual. Number one, it all depends on the areas you come from, what's acceptable, what's not affordable. If you're able to get the proper stuff, if you're able to even talk to your parents about it, like there's so
yeah.
many issues with menstrual.
Mhm.
Um, cycles with young women, and that's why you talk about young black women. So that coloring book, it has to get out there on the market. It
Yeah.
has to.
Yes. It's Missy, you said?
Yeah, Missy Searle,
Hi,
and I could
Missy.
say, yeah, hey Missy, get the coloring books, because her whole thing is ensuring that every individual that is going through a menstrual cycle has access. Yeah, so we're going to make sure that Missy Searle jumps on and she gets these coloring books because it is a need. And I would love to, build that partnership between yourself and Missy, Nova Scotia and Ontario, and make it bigger for you.
Yeah. Oh, Nova Scotia, Ontario to the world.
Yeah, get it out to the world, to the world, to the world.
Mm.
When you talked about being an empath, literally, I was interviewing a young lady, Nikki Clark, a few weeks back,
Oh.
and she talked about that too on the podcast because she just launched her new book called "I Can Care, but I Cannot Carry," and it's basically around the same thing because when you're an empath, you take on people's stuff, and it will drain you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm glad you talked about a little bit of that and what went into um, you developing your coloring books. Not only are you smart, not only are you a licensed this, and that, but there was more to it. There was more of the foundation and holistic way of doing this. So kudos to you.
Thank you, thank you. Absolutely. The holistic approach for everything, right? It's like how do you wrap or do that wraparound support?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love it. I love it. So Soulful Color, it's known for well, it's affirmations because that's a big part of Soulful Coloring, and it's for all ages. Why was it important for you to create these positive affirmations? Because you could have done a coloring book, girl, and just had little black characters or little characters of color or whatever. You didn't have to do affirmations. Why was
Hmm.
that part important?
Well, the affirmations are important because we like we talked about at the top, the grand rising versus good morning, and like the power of words. Words are very powerful, and we know this, but we don't really tap into it. Like affirmations, actually programming your brain to help you be your best self, self empowerment, self development. It's often done through the power of words,
Yeah,
journaling, all of these things. Some of the top business leaders and
absolutely,
millionaires in the world, they say it all the time. Any book that you pick up about how to become your best self, how to, get past any type of blockage, it's like, are you journaling? Are you writing down what
absolutely.
you want? And so the power of affirmations is very real. There's actually a physiological, because there's a part of our brain that actually needs to get programmed or can be programmed, a reticular activation system. That's what it's called,
Oh, sit
RAS.
down, girl.
Yeah.
What is the acronym? What is the acronym?
RAS.
Okay.
Yeah, reticular activation system. So it's a part of our brain that actually filters out what we need, what we don't need, using our senses. And so that's why it's very important. And then also, my background as a singer-songwriter,
Yeah,
I have written music, written songs, have an album, I do poetry, and so words had to be part of the coloring book. I couldn't just have the images. And then because of the whole right brain, left brain, analytical and creative, there's people that'll look at the books and they'll flip through the pages and all they'll see is the images on their first glance,
mm,
right? Because they're more of a creative brain or focus more on the creative side, and they'll only see that. And I'll be like, "Oh, did you notice that there were words?" And then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even see the words." And then they'll go back, and then it adds to the experience. So it makes it a more of a cognitive experience and increases the
yeah,
experience because you have more things to focus on the page and then relating the affirmation back to the image and vice versa. So it's it's really amazing how intricate and detailed just the simple task of coloring can be, and which is why. And we start young people in classrooms, kindergarten. Like as soon as a child can pick up a pencil, crayon, or a crayon, or whatever, and they start scribbling, they're learning. They're fine motor, they're
this is
absorbing
true.
information, and we know that it's a powerful tool for learning. And
Yeah,
so why it doesn't have to stop. And it doesn't stop, actually. It gets utilized all the way through school, and then regardless of the subject, right? Because they use coloring for math, they use it for, of course, art,
Everything.
but
Like,
for everything, exactly. Yeah, when you really think about it, it gets utilized in everything. And then we're like, yeah, coloring's just for kids, but no, it's a really great way to calm stress, calm anxiety.
I doodle.
Like,
I doodle and I
totally.
color. Even if I don't have any coloring, like this pen would be my color of all colors.
Yes.
If I'm in a stressful meeting or something, I will doodle
Hmm.
circles and then I'll fill it in and color. Like it literally, it does work.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna have to order a book so I can take to every meeting I go to, especially them government ones, and be on the side there coloring because it does calm me. And there's gonna be a lot of people listening saying, you know what?
Mhm.
Maybe I can get one for myself, but also for my kids and show them different ways of calming themselves in stressful environments.
Oh, absolutely. Like one of the things that I've really loved is when I see young people and adults, families, mother, daughter, father,
Hmm.
son, father, daughter, like they coloring together. It is a great way to build
Wow.
connection and then while you're coloring having conversation because you're almost in a meditative state, so you might start talking about things that otherwise you wouldn't talk about, and then when you think about the images that you're looking at, then that can spark conversation.
Absolutely.
Just the simple showing of the cover of the Empower Flow book took us down a path of period poverty. There's also, women's health issues and individuals who are experiencing um, painful cycles, which is not a normal thing, by the
It's
way.
not.
It's not a normal thing. So the conversations that get sparked and the connections that can be made through such a simple act, it's really amazing and mind blowing for me every time I see it. And that's one of the things I love about what I'm doing so much is the connections that it's creating, and then also introducing people to something that otherwise they wouldn't do. So it's a new, and in some respects it's a new way to have
Oh my
people
goodness.
connect.
Well, I will say, because you're talking about aunties and sisters and mothers and daughters and connections,
Mhm.
you ever thinking about doing a soulful coloring paint night?
I've actually done that. Yes, like
You gotta do more than that.
a
Like,
color
yeah, that
night.
should be on a revolving monthly thing
It should be
and
absolutely.
charge. And there's a cost associated. It's not free. This is not a non-for-profit event. Um, excuse me, because even if you did the affirmations as they were in going through the process, almost like a healing mechanism, but for the creatives
Mm.
and non-creatives, I think you should put it on a how can I say it? A cycle. It should
Yeah.
be on a monthly thing, recurring. That's the word, recurring
Reoccurring
cycle.
cycle, yeah. That's a definitely a good idea, and they're called guided. I call them guided coloring sessions, Soulful Color guided coloring sessions,
Yeah, those are
and
nice. That would be nice.
yeah. So yeah,
Oh my goodness.
get a
What has been the most rewarding part of building Soulful Color and seeing people and their expressions and the conversations around it, especially when you go to the schools and you talk to the students
mm.
or even teachers. What is the most rewarding part about it?
The most rewarding part, I would say, is being able to connect with such a diverse
Mm,
group of people, not just from cultural backgrounds, but also ages, right? I've done a guided coloring session and had a young person, 4 years old, and then an elder,
I
somebody in
love
their
the
70s,
elders.
in the same space at the same
Wow.
time, coloring the same book and having their own insights and sharing that in the space is just a magical experience, honestly. And so that's one of the things that is just amazing and that I love the most of what
Yeah.
I've done.
And auntie, I call them the aunties, but the elders, I love
Yes.
elders. I'm not so much a kid person, but to see someone who's 4 years old and an elder in the same space,
Yeah.
that's so empowering and so much knowledge.
Intergenerational
Wow.
connection, and it is very powerful, and we don't do that enough. Like,
No, we don't.
our elders. don't get the as much as the respect and the understanding of how much knowledge they
It
hold,
is
and
so true,
the
so true.
opportunity to share that is like, yeah,
And a lot of the
invaluable.
elders, I don't know if they're just thinking we're bored, we don't want to hear it. We want to know. We want to hear the stories. We want to know about the trials and tribulations that, or the foundations that you set for us today. Like, we want the stories. So, any elders listening to this, anybody over 40, which is me, make sure you're reaching back and you're talking to the youth, the teens, the young ones, and giving them some of the insight on what you learned through your journey because it's going to benefit us.
Yes, and talking to the to young people, make sure that you sit down and listen and take the time to
Yeah,
hear and spend time with elders, because they can help you avoid some of the pitfalls of life by
absolutely,
just hearing their
girl.
stories.
My whole colleague, I would say, group would be people who are 60 plus. And the
Hmm.
reason why I keep that circle that way is because I learn everything from them.
Yeah.
They saved me a lot of headache, right? People my age, you guys are here doing the same thing I'm doing. We're trying to figure it out. So I need to hang around with my aunties. I need to, be around individuals that have already done this and will tell me exactly what not to do. Save me from a lot of headaches, honestly.
Yeah, facts. That's because, in order to learn, you got to go to the people who've already been where you're at or have already done what you want to do. And that's another tried, tested, and true
Absolutely.
phrase or mentality that gets shared when you're taking things to the next level. You got to find
Absolutely.
people who are already doing it, be in spaces where you're not the smartest person in
Smartest
the room.
person. Nope.
Yeah.
If I'm the smartest person, I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm gone, guys. And I just do the peace out. I need to be the best, so I have to be around people who have already done it, and who are smarter than me, who've got more than me.
Who've been on the
That's
planet longer than you.
absolutely, which are my aunties and the elders. Here's my favorite question. I love asking this to anybody I talk to, even if walking down the street, if I know you're a business owner or entrepreneur. So, as an entrepreneur, Sophia, and a creative, but you're an empath and you're really big on empowerment and in tune with yourself, like holistically. What are some of the biggest challenges you face while building Soulful Color? Because when you're an empath and you are a holistic wellness, like when you believe in certain things, it has to clash with the traditional mindset of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question, and I don't even know if I have an answer,
Uh,
honestly.
I was just curious to see if you could answer because no
Uh,
one, I haven't met anybody yet who can answer that, who
yeah,
is like you. They say, well, some of them just say, girl, Tia, I struggle every day with it
yeah.
because, I know one lady, she came into entrepreneurship, I'm going to say 6 years ago, and she was really big on the health and wellness, not burning yourself out, that there's definitely a balance between business and blah, blah, blah. And I said, it's not really a balance. You have to lose things to gain things when you're in business. Like you can't say I'm gonna take a mental health day for 3 days in a row when you're in business and you're a small business owner. You lose that momentum in 3 or 4 days. And years later, she came back and she was like, "Yeah, no, what I was trying to do, it doesn't work." And I said, I kind of figure. So I know a lot of people are struggling with trying to prove the system differently and saying, as an entrepreneur, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. And then those same ones will come back years later and say, my profit margins haven't moved from year one to year three. I still have the same, revenue streams. Like nothing's really changing.
Yeah. I
And that's
think
why I asked that question.
yeah, I think it's the just the not just not stopping. Like when you make a decision on what you want to do and what you want to accomplish, is that you need to just keep going. I know
Well, I like that
you've
answer.
you've said this before, right? You can't stop. And so we understand. I hate this phrase of, it's not going to be easy. Like whoever came up with this, I like they need to just, rethink the whole thing, because nothing in life is easy, right?
Nothing.
Nothing. Waking up every morning sometimes is hard for people,
Yeah.
right? So it's It's not going to be, I would say it's not simple, but it is simple. Sorry. It is simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. And pick your hard. Like
Yeah,
everything is hard, everything is challenging. And if you decided to be an entrepreneur, you understand that it's going to be hard, it's going to be challenging. But the simple thing is just don't stop. Keep going.
don't stop,
The
literally.
trials and the tribulations, because life, that's what life is filled of, right? Is And if you're not being challenged, then you're not growing, and if you're not growing, then you're stagnant. And it's just
And then
kind
what's
of,
the point?
and then what's the point, right? So I think maybe just formulating my answer as we were talking, Tia, I'm like the answer is to keep, to keep going, and to
Yeah.
recognize that through the trials and tribulations, that is what's helping you grow and to become the best person, and then celebrating the triumphs when they happen. And then when,
Hmm.
you have
Small
bad
wins.
mind, the small wins, exactly. You have people who are trying to block you, or they're not accepting you, or they have they have their opinions and all of that stuff, or you're getting scammed out of money, because I've had that happen. My
Oh
website,
Lord, I think we've all had that happen.
all of
Yeah.
us have had that happen, but don't let that
No, hinder
stop
you.
you and
Yeah.
hinder you. Yeah, you gotta, pick up, take a moment, take a moment, and then pick up yourself, dust yourself off, and then keep going, because the only one who you're harming is yourself. Because whomever else is coming into your life to bring some stress, they're just going to move on with their life, so they're not impacted by it. But your dream not getting out there, and your creativity, and your gifts, the world needs them. So if you don't do it and you let somebody derail you, not only are you hurting yourself, but you're taking something special from the world that somebody else might need.
Now look at that. You gave us the answer. You gave us the answer. Wow. What role has no, no, I'm not going to ask that. I want to know, with regard to you being a youth in a child, what's it called? A youth and child care worker. Is that the title?
Yeah, see, it's child and youth care.
Child and youth care worker, licensed, accredited.
Mm.
Um, was it an easy decision to step a little bit back from that and go into, soulful coloring, or do you just fuse them together?
Yeah, basically fuse them together. I think the toughest decision was making the decision, the choice to leave the school board. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
yeah, I had my mom in my head. You know, may she rest in peace. But I had her in my head, government job. Like, where,
Girl, you don't leave
you
government
know,
jobs to start no business, or
yeah.
you never do that.
Don't do that. That's like the worst thing, right? That's a old school mentality for sure. Her being having been migrating here from Trinidad, and that was the thing. Like, get a government job. Make sure you have a paycheck, you have a pension, and all of them things, right? But I realized, and as we know as entrepreneurs, that's sometimes, well, not sometimes, it's really challenging to make the type of life that you want to make it happen, the impact that you want to make.
Yeah, it's
Sometimes
the
it's
impact.
not possible when you're working at a regular, a 9 to 5 or something like that. So that was the most challenging decision for me. But the what I have, the knowledge, the skills that I gained through life, but then also becoming a child and youth care worker, and then going using the books and creating the books, they,
Hmm.
like you said right at the top, it was infused. So I do still go back into schools, and because of
Hey,
my connections with teachers and principals, and having run for trustee, and that those a few political affiliations that I've made, I've been invited back into schools, camps, summer camps, and programs that are, very, that focus on young people. And so I still get to interact with young people, and teach and support and coach and all of that too. So I've created
yeah.
kind of like a synergy in that respect.
Well, there's two things I'm going to say because I don't want to forget to say this. Speaking of summer camps, so hopefully summer 2025, you're going to do a soulful coloring camp. for a week. He's putting it out there, speaking to existence for some of the youth and the younger end of youth. And speaking of impact, I think because it goes into my next question with regards to the trustee position, and I want to know what inspired you because it's hard to go from being working in the school boards, being around that atmosphere, and then wanting to run for public office. Like, what the heck? Where did that even come in at?
Well, I didn't see it as running for public office. I saw it as to be a trustee on the school board trustee. You're really supposed to be that connector for the ministry to the community,
Public
right?
office.
Yeah. But in my head, I was like, I'm going to be helping,
Wow.
young people and families and making that connection between the school board, the ministry, and the community. So I guess it's just perspective, right? You're absolutely right. Obviously, it is public office. It's entry level, really. If
Yeah.
you're going to go through the steps of how to make it to, the House of Commons, it would be trustee, then a councilor,
Oh my God. Yeah.
municipal. Right, right.
Girl.
That's like so trustee, school board, I guess trustee, then municipal, then provincial, then federal. But so my motivation was really again about community and connecting with families and wanting to
That would be the best
bring.
part for me.
Right, exactly. And wanting to bring my creative self,
Of
who
course.
who I am and how I show up. I think being frontline worker and then having that experience and being at the table as a trustee, that's valuable perspective because a lot of
That.
times people go into trustee and that is their motivation is because it's entry level to further their political aspirations, right? Then their finance or they're lawyers or something like that, and they haven't had classroom experience, but yet they are having the voice and dictating what's going to happen. So I thought that my background would add to that narrative. And honestly, it wasn't something that was on my radar. I had people around me at the time who
That's,
made the
that's how it always
suggestion.
happens. Yep. That's
Yeah.
how it always happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And they made the suggestion and the recommendation, and then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, I think, yeah, maybe I can make an impact. I can make a difference, make a change, and that I would definitely be a disruptor. I'm not about status quo, but I have a palatable way of going about things. So I might have been able to shake things up a little bit. And that was my motivation for running. And then again, the creativity piece of it. Me running for trustee is different than anybody else running for trustee. And I was, I guess, I did better than would have been expected, coming close to actually unseating a 19-year incumbent. So
Oh my God. How was the experience of that? Like, how did you feel going through it? Was it invasive, intrusive, or was it like what was the experience like?
it was all of those things. It
Huh?
was
Not for
exciting,
me.
it was empowering, it was amazing connecting with community because you
Yeah.
grassroots. I was door knocking, like going to people's doors, ringing their doorbells, and because that is the tried, tested, and true way of connecting with community is grassroots, right? And so that was an interesting experience and learning about voter apathy and why people don't vote in the first place, like or they don't believe that their
I
vote
used to be one of
has
them.
right. But so changing that narrative, especially in different communities. So that was it. And then I had some comments, some ridiculous foolishness that I had to overcome as well. And all par for the course, right? Just like we were talking about, you just
Girl.
had to keep it moving. But overall, it was it was a life-changing experience and something. And then I realizing that we need to encourage young people and adults to be more informed, to get involved. This is
Mm,
how laws and policies and things that
change.
impact our
Yep.
lives, yeah. And we need to encourage to be in the know, to be involved, to, step up if you do choose to run for an office, a position, to embrace it. And because, yeah, we need to know what's happening in these spaces, because there are things that happen in those spaces when you're at the trustee table or in a counselor's table, or even going to events where these individuals will be, like the mayor or the prime
Yeah.
minister, or you're in that room, you're learning and being privy
Oh,
to
yeah, you're
things that
opening
you,
up. Yep.
yeah. And we really need to encourage um, us as people of color to be in those spaces, because they're
You're absolutely
writing our
right.
lives, they're dictating our lives, and we have no say, and have don't even realize some of the stuff that's happening behind those closed doors until it's too late, until it's actually,
And then we want to complain about it.
and then you want to complain
I
about it.
was
Exactly.
asked, similar to you, I was not a vote trustee, but it just came to me, and I didn't. I said, no, I'm not into politics to run that way. To run for counselor position here in Halifax, and I said to there was actually seven people's group, and I said to them, my impact is done differently. I am involved in politics. I am in the right spaces where I can implement change in a way I love to do and what aligns with me. I don't want to run for a certain position and then I'm censored or I have to feel like I'm being bullied not to do and say the things I do and say now because Tia is always going to be Tia.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, honestly, if I was at, legislation sitting there and I opened my mouth, I think everybody would turn their heads at me like, did she just say that? So I think for me at this point, I wouldn't do it. But like you said, you have to be involved. And I do go to these spaces that, the MPs, MLAs, our premier, like I'm in those spaces all the time. So I get to know what's going on and it feels damn good. So now I'm more involved with even wanting to vote. Like I can't wait to vote this year. Asked me 10 years ago, I didn't vote right up until 2018,
Wow.
ever.
Yeah. Yeah. and
Was
and
didn't care, wasn't involved, right? It
right.
wasn't affecting me, but it was affecting me.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, that's awesome that you shared that, because I think that that would resonate with a lot of people that are just like, it's not, doesn't make a difference. Nothing's ever going to change. It's not going to be impactful, but absolutely nothing's going to change, and it's not going to
If
be
you don't,
impactful if you don't. So it's kind of like, ha- what's your alternative? Yeah, at
not
least
do
do
anything.
something. Yeah.
It's so true. I went to a debate last week, and it was the mayor debate. There's three mayors that were debating for Halifax, and boy, was it good! And it got a little bit dicey, and I was just on the edge of my seat. And I'm like, I want you to cover homelessness. I want you to cover transit. Like there are certain things. Yes, I'm a black woman. Yes, I advocate for black women in business and whatnot about diversity, equity, and inclusion. But that was not, I don't want people to take buzzwords and run with it just for votes.
Hmm.
And so I wasn't even concerned about that aspect. I need to know about the real things that are going to affect everybody green, black, purple, blue, white. That's what I want to know. And it was so good. Again, 10 years ago, I would have never went to that type of event. And then, of course, I got to have some conversations with some important people. And one of them said to me, Tia, you really say what's on your mind. I said, absolutely. I don't play around. So, you're going to get involved. Any way you can, if you're volunteering at the ballot, what do you call it, the voting ballot booths,
Hmm.
anything that you can do to get familiar with how the political world runs and you start implementing, start talking and start asking questions makes a big difference. And you will eventually say, I can't wait to vote. Because that's where I'm at. I'm like,
Yeah, bring it on.
oh,
Yeah.
great. I can't wait to vote. I'll be on the edge of my seat when the countdown happens to see who gets in. And I think I would be very disappointed if who I want in doesn't get in.
Hmm.
That's how real it is for me now.
Well, that's how real it should be. That's how real it
Yeah.
should. The same way we focus on TV shows and,
And awards for artists who
yeah.
we never will meet.
Right,
We
right.
should
This
be
is,
focused the same way. Well, I'm glad you took the opportunity to do that, Sophia. Honestly, um, you never know where it
yeah.
leads.
Well, it's leading here. It's leading
Yeah.
to, and but like you, I think, what they say, God's rejection is protection sometimes. I don't think that I
Girl,
would run again, but
you just never know.
never say never exactly. But I've opened up a whole new world.
Absolutely. Wow. So, your journey as an entrepreneur, running for trustee, being a part of the school board, um, oh my God, certified youth and child care worker, and also your personal growth, because your personal growth is absolutely real, and it all intersect. What advice would you give a similar individual like you, who's looking to navigate similar paths? If they are having intersections and they're just like, oh, this is not for me. There's too much going on. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Like, I can't figure out which one I want to do. What advice would you say to her?
I would say talk to the people around you, like
Mm-hmm.
find individuals that you feel are killing it or are doing what you want to do, are in places that you want to be, and have those conversations, a coach, a mentor, or
Yes, yes.
or just other individuals that you might like. Networking is huge.
Huge. Your
Go
network is your net worth.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know you say that all the time.
Yes, I am big on that.
Like, just be people. I mean, I know some people can be introverted and have a hard time networking and things like that, but to work on that, because anything that you want to do in life, as we know, I know it sounds cliche, you can't do it alone.
You
You
can't.
you can't do it alone, and so you need the support of other people, and these other people, they might be in your life for a minute, or they might be in your life for a lifetime, right?
Absolutely.
You never know. So go out there and network, talk to people, and have them help. As far as like doing, so many different things, if this individual that I'm speaking to is like myself, um, I have moments where I just need to, like, okay, focus. Got to focus on something. It's usually because of somebody else telling me that I need to focus on
Mm-hmm.
something. And then I'll focus for a little bit, but then I'll go back to doing several things. And I think that that's my ebb and flow.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm throwing things out, what's going to stick, and then I can run with that. And so to kind of lean into it a little bit and not beat yourself up about it, and have
Absolutely.
grace for yourself, and have grace for others. And it's like, if you are somebody who's a multitasker, got to do multiple things at the same time, yes, it can be chaotic, but it might also just be part of who you
Who
are.
you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then you ebb and flow with it. Sometimes it's going to be a positive, and it's going to really get you what you want, and sometimes it
Be
might not.
messy.
It
Who
might be
cares
messy,
though?
but it's just the way that it is. There's, other than that response that I came up with, that I'm going to have to review the video to even remember what it is that I said. Other than that, like, it's just it's the way that it is. Life is full of ups and downs,
Yeah.
mess and marvelousness. Did I just make that word up?
I like
And
that little. I like that little. There's two things. There's that one and the one you said about every rejection is God's protection. I'm
yeah,
going to have to do a post about that in a little while when we come off here on my social media, and I'll make
okay.
sure I tag you in it because that's facts. Um, I pulled a couple of little words from you today, Sophia.
Thank
I'm
you.
not such a creative like you, so it takes me a moment.
Hmm.
Now, if I was upset with somebody and I need to shade them, the words come naturally. Naturally. But this space, it didn't come, so I'm gonna take stuff from you. What's next for Sophia Jackson? What's next for Soulful Coloring? What's next?
I want to be a global brand. I mean, that's down the road. I'm thinking of legacy. How can I leave my "I was here" stamp on the world,
Absolutely.
and create something that will be like a brand that'll be known for having, creativity, mental wellness, uh, like a creative way, fun and creative way to tackle, challenging topics. You have multidimensional awareness,
Yeah, absolutely.
diversity, representation, financial literacy, and doing that in a fun of creative way. And to merchandising, like I see uh, that as well. But overall, is to ensure that the Soulful Color brand s- exists,
Yeah.
exists past me. That's my hope.
Oh my goodness. That gave me goosebumps. It exists past me.
Yes, that's that.
Another phrase I'm taken by you today. Oh my Lord.
What's you're like
No, but that was nice. If someone, I hope someone asks me in the near future, what's next for Tia Upshaw, and I'll say I hope that my brand exists past me. Like,
uh,
girl,
right, but then okay, but check it though, Tia. I'm gonna drop this. Procter and Gamble,
it's
name
not
brands, right? And we're talking about so from a legacy standpoint and
Tim
from a
Hortons.
it's a
Jesus.
very important and a historical standpoint.
Yeah.
As people of color, our brands and our names need to live on because we have names and brands, families, their
Yeah.
families, their names are still resonating and roll off the tongues of people because of the and going back hundreds of years. There's some well, hundred. There are some companies that have been around for over a
Literally.
hundred years, literally, right? And then and so it shouldn't be like a revolutionary thought or a groundbreaking thought for us two women of color being on this digital platform to be like
It's
our
so true.
businesses need to exist past us, but that would be I think breaking some generational traumas, some generational curses, maybe
Yeah.
even to ensure that that happens. And um, because why not? Why, like, not even why not? It absolutely has to happen.
It
It
has
has to happen.
100% has to happen.
Yeah.
And, I look forward to going through the motions and building that and doing everything possibly that I can do to ensure that it does happen. So thank you for giving me that because I'm going to do probably a voiceover with it on TikTok later too. Okay. What message do you want to leave with any of the viewers or listeners, especially any women that may resonate with you today? What final messages would you like to give to them?
I would like to say that you need to make time for yourself. Often
Hmm.
we talk about, I don't have time to color, I don't have time to
So
work
true.
out, I don't have time to eat properly or food prep or whatever these things are that you say that you need to do or you know that you should be doing that you say that you don't have time for. You absolutely have to make time and put it in your schedule. And I'll tell you, I'm talking to myself as well. I have to remind myself
Yeah, me
about
too.
taking those breaks because if you don't, if you don't do it, life will happen and it'll force you to do it, right? We saying that I remember you mentioned this, that sometimes you can't afford to take 3 days in a row off. But
Hmm.
if you get sick,
You're forced to take
you're
it.
forced to take
It
it.
just happened to me, Sophia. 2 weeks ago, I did a video, and I said I think it was the divine intervention. Literally on a Tuesday, I did CTV Tuesdays with Tia. Went and got my nails done. Went for a nap. Woke up with a full blown temperature. By day two, I had vomiting, headaches, like literally the rest of the week I was in bed. I didn't even get out of bed. I couldn't even do anything. I was in bed sleeping 16 hours, like literally. What she's saying, you guys,
Yeah,
you can't take time to take 3 days. You can't afford it. Divine intervention will tell you you're going to take them days. It's going to be more than three.
yeah, it'll be more than three.
So this
Yeah,
fact, Sophia.
it
Jeez.
is, but it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard, absolutely. And I know you said women, talking to women, and of course I have an affinity for women, but it goes for everyone,
Anybody? Yeah.
everybody. Our men, if you're gender fluid,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like you have to make sure you take time and take care of yourself. I recommend coloring.
Of course. You're going to drop that in there.
Yeah, I recommend coloring, and But of course, there's so many other things that you can do as well, or put combine things, get some tea, have some candles, do a spa day, then
Something.
color, and then inter and get a few people together too, to make it a group, day where you take some time. And again, I'm talking to myself, I'm listening to myself, and I'm like, yo, Sophia, when's the last time you did that?
Girl, I was going to say, Sophia, do you do that on a regular? But I wasn't going to put you on blast. That's okay.
I think I put myself on blast. Yeah. Well, I love interacting with, like, I love sitting down and having a tea, or,
Oh, me too.
having a meal with
Yeah.
somebody. Like, I love doing that. So I also incorporate my downtime. It's part of my, like, I like networking, or I like, interacting with others and spending time with others. So it's an opportunity to just have conversations about business, but then also just about life and
It's
chilling.
about
So
life because life
yeah.
is business. Business sometimes is life. It's so messy, and sometimes you need an outlet. And just having a brief conversation over coffee or tea will
hmm
change your whole week.
and that also is included in self-care. So
Absolutely.
that's my major message.
Perfect. Well, we are almost at the end. Before we go, to let the listeners and viewers know, and I'll also be like, there will be a link up above.
hmm
I'll put for your website, but let them know how they can connect with you if they didn't want to go to your website. What are your social handles? Is there an email? Like, drop whatever you want to drop, Sophia.
Okay. So if you're not going to the website, which you absolutely should, soulfulcolor.com, where I'm on Instagram, Soulful Color. And listen,
Hmm.
we're in Canada, people, so it's the Canadian spelling of color, COLOUR. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. My
Yeah, you're big
business,
on LinkedIn.
yes. So Sophia Jackson, SoJ, as well as the Soulful Color page. There, I have a business page on LinkedIn, and then Instagram. I said that I'm on Facebook.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like me. Canadian Black Women in Excellence is on Facebook, but we don't really do too well on there, so we don't really mess with it.
Right.
It's like a
The
landing page.
Honestly, it's because I can, when I post to Instagram, it automatically posts to Facebook. But there is a page there as well, and that gets updated. And I have a TikTok channel as well. So basically, if you search in Google Soulful Color, um, all of the different things will come up.
No, it's
And then
true.
also my music too, Sophia Jackson, or Sojay, Sojay. You'll find my music. I'm on Spotify. I'm everywhere.
No, you are. And I only wanted you to drop all that because before we came on, I do it with all my guests. I make sure that their links are good, nothing's broken. And I went to Google, and your SEOs are good.
Yeah?
Your meta descriptions are great. Like it was so easy to find. Even you do Soulful Color or coloring, sorry, you come up too. So you're able to keep going down. You see like your music. Like it's not hard to find Sophia Jackson, you guys, or Soulful Color. Like I promise you.
Well, and the fact, thank you for saying that, but the fact that I'm here having a conversation with you, Miss Tia, will even add to that ranking
Oh yeah, I'll be doing
because,
backlinks and everything else. I'll make sure that everything is in there for you.
well, I mean,
Um,
because of the fabulousness that you're doing and your
oh, thank
platform
you.
and all of that, everything that you're doing. So obviously, I'm in good company.
Oh, that was so sweet. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, we are at the end of this segment for Identity Shift, and I hope you guys loved it because I really enjoyed having a conversation with Sophia. If you like this one, or you missed this one, or vice versa, you can go over to our Spotify page. You can go subscribe. You can go to our Instagram, follow us. You can even tag us in something if you want to be a guest. Go to our DMs, or go to our YouTube page. But until next week, guys. I'll see you everybody later. Thank you for joining us. See ya. Thank you for listening to Identity Shift. See everybody next week.